All right, guys, this is a very sad video. I'm going to have to say farewell to one of my favorite companies, Shinoken. Anybody who's watching the video probably knows what's happened. They've been given a buyout offer that seems to have been approved by the majority owner, and the company is being sold for 1,600 yen. Now, I've had my return on this. I actually sold it last week because I didn't see any way out of this problem, but total return here was just over 50%, and my compounded annual gain here was 86%. So if we look at those numbers, that looks pretty good. But the reason I'm disappointed is because this was supposed to be a long-term holding. This was supposed to be a company that I could hold on to forever maybe, and they would just compound over time. I love this company. They had everything that I wanted in a company. They were cheap on a price to cash flow basis. They had 20% plus growth. They had recurring revenue that was very stable. They had the market cap in cash. They were a spawner. They had a dividend. They had growing buybacks, and they had a lot of other things that I really liked. And if there was one company I didn't want to get bought out in my portfolio, it was Shinoken. Actually, I wouldn't want Stone to get bought out either, but I guess I just have to live with it. I'll take the gain, and I don't want to be ungrateful, but yeah, I was expecting that this company would be worth quite a lot more in a number of years. I had the intrinsic value around 4,000, and they sold for 1,600. So just for anybody who hasn't heard the news, they agreed to sell for 1,600, and they have this interesting clause that I hadn't seen before. Apparently, it's not that uncommon, but I hadn't seen it before, where if some of the shareholders don't vote for this thing, they're basically going to do a reverse split until they get these holdout owners down to a fractional share level, and then they can just pay them out cash for their fractional shares. Now, that seemed pretty nasty. Like they're basically forcing this, and you don't really nobody really has a say in this. But if I was the purchasing company, I would do exactly the same thing. I would take this price, and I would make sure the deal went through, because this is a steal. What else do I want to say? There might be a possibility here if an activist investor gets involved and buys a chunk of shares and takes them to court based on the price. Might be able to get the price up a little bit. I don't have any intel to say that's actually happening, but I've seen guys like ICANN do that before, and so it is a possibility. But from my perspective, I don't really think it's much of a possibility. So I just ended up selling the shares, and currently I'm holding most of that cash. I put some more into ASOS, which I should do a video about here shortly, but mostly it's just in yen right now. And just a quick note on the yen. Being a contrarian, I don't like selling things after they've gone screaming down, which is the case for the yen over the last 6 months or so. I can't, maybe longer, but currencies have a way of reverting to the mean over time. So I may end up holding on to this yen just to try and wait for more of a reasonable exchange rate to convert it back into Canadian dollars. But I wouldn't recommend that for people who aren't used to dealing with currencies, because it can easily go the other way, and it involves macroeconomic factors like the interest rate differential between primarily the U.S. and Japan. If those interest rates stop, if the interest rate gap between the two countries stops expanding and it starts contracting, like let's say the Federal Reserve gets a bit more dovish, you could see the yen rate improve quite a bit, because they've been holding their rates down almost at zero, while the rest of the world is while the rest of the world is basically increasing rates to deal with inflation. Japan doesn't have inflation, like they never do, and so they haven't really they haven't really been forced into a corner like a lot of other countries have. But I digress. If you're not into that kind of stuff and following those kinds of things and understand that, what the dynamics at play are, then I wouldn't recommend playing the yen here. But again, not financial advice. These are just my thoughts, and do whatever fits your portfolio and your personality. I do hope that some of you guys made some money off this one, because in the end we did make money, and I should be grateful that, it could have ended way worse. We could have had an accounting scandal where there's actually no cash on the books and the stock goes to 5 yen. So it could have ended worse. And I guess I'm glad I made money on this rather than losing money. So farewell to Shinoken, and let's hope we can find another one of these kind of stocks in the near future. Have a great day, guys. Thanks.